morning. My name is Lynn Wood. I'm a student services assistant at East Los Angeles College. It's Tuesday, day 2 of the semester. The semester began yesterday. I hope you had a good day. Hope your Tuesday is going well. I saw on Instagram, if you're looking for classes to add, I did see on Instagram where I think it's Mesa. And the First Year Center and the Welcome Center all posted information for how to add classes in this virtual world, that there are wait lists, but that you can add classes all week. So you should feel free to join any wait list that you see. But yeah, I have a couple of food resources that I wanted to share with you. One of them is the Garage Board Shop. They're in East LA. They do weekly food giveaways on Fridays. If you've ever been on Atlantic on a Friday, you've seen the line there. That's what they're doing, food. Eastmont Community Center in Montebello, they also do weekly food giveaways. You don't have to sign up or register for either one of these. The Garage Board Shop is a walk-up one, and Eastmont is a drive-up. Lastly, I have Mi Centro in Boyle Heights. They are a gay and lesbian center in Boyle Heights, and they are a small organization. They have a pride pantry. They only serve about 10 families each week, so you do need to register for their program. Mi Centro in Boyle Heights. I saw the Student Health Center also on Instagram. Our Student Health Center posted that they've expanded its Homes for Hope, or a Shower of Hope. That's the same organization. They're doing temporary housing also for females now. It previously was only extended to males. So now they're doing both. Student Health Center is where you can sign up for that. We are in this virtual world, but Student Health Center is still offering, virtual services, and the provider is called Via Care, and they are still offering in-person services. I believe their address is 507 Atlantic. So if you're an ELAC student, they're not going to verify that you've paid fees or anything like that. They're just going to verify that you are, in fact, an ELAC student. So they'll verify your student ID number. And they're doing COVID testing. They're doing COVID vaccines. If you're an ELAC student that's 65 or older, you would be eligible to get a vaccine there. Just call them up and say, hey, I'm an ELAC student. I'm 65. You need to bring proof of age with you, which is usually like your driver's license and stuff like that. I'm sure they'll tell you the documents you would need to bring. But those are the levels we're at right now. It's healthcare providers and folks that are 65 and older. But you can also do STD testing there, and they have a Well Woman program. Again, I believe it's 507 Atlantic, and they are called Via Care. And as a student, you have access to all of those services, and they would just verify your student ID number. I want to give out my email address. It's Wood, W-O-O-D, C as in cat, L as in Larry. So that's woodcl at elac.edu. And again, my name is Lynn Wood, and I'm a student services assistant at East Los Angeles College. And specifically, I'm a coordinator for a program called One Zone. And in specific, I'm speaking to our LGBTQ plus students. Yeah. This is my partner, my wife, my everything.
The fabulous.
My Anne.
Hello.
Generally, she does read with me, but today I think she's just going to color. She has her little pocket size, travel size.
Coloring book.
Yeah, coloring book. I was trying to figure out what those were.
Oh, they're like.
Are they piñatas, or are they some kind of?
Yeah, some kind of.
Horses.
Yeah.
What is that thing called? Like carousel.
All of that.
Carousel horses or piñatas or something. But orange is her favorite color, so you see orange prominently displayed there on the page.
Orange. Is this orange? Yeah.
Sort of. Kind of red.
Like a reddish orange. Anyway.
Anywho, the book that I have to talk to you all about is called, it's Angela Davis's book called Freedom is a Constant Struggle. The book that I was previously reading, which I haven't finished, is called The Pull of the Stars by Emma Donoghue. It's a great book. It's a sort of a period piece um, set in Ireland relating to the flu pandemic in 1918 and what's happening in this maternity ward. And it's been a great book. I just sort of put it aside to start talking about this book, mainly when February rolled around, because we're in Black History Month and it is the shortest month of, all the months. So I didn't want to miss a day talking about I didn't want to miss a day talking about anything to do with Black folks. And the book in particular that I have right now is this one, Angela Davis, Freedom is a Constant Struggle. It is her most recent book. I have a couple of books on the way, so I'll talk about those when they come. But this book is like essays and interviews and speeches and emails, and they've all been compiled into this book. And it seems like her reflections on things that are happening in Ferguson, Palestine, and the foundations of a movement in terms of freedom being a constant struggle. So we're in part 2. It's Ferguson reminds us of the importance of a global context. And it says this is an interview by Frank Barat in Brussels, September 21st, 2014. Following what happened in Ferguson, what is your view of the framework of the new Jim Crow, the book by Michelle Alexander? Michelle Alexander's book on mass incarceration appeared precisely at a moment that represented the peak of organizing against the prison industrial complex. It became a bestseller. It became polarized the struggle against mass incarceration, against the prison industrial complex in a very important way. Of course, the argument that she makes about mass incarceration, reinstituting some of the very structures on civil rights that were fought for during the era of the mid 20th century Black movement is very important. Ferguson reminds us that we have to globalize our thinking about these issues, not to think locally.
Mhm.
And if I were to be critical in a friendly way of the text, I would say that what it lacks is a global context in an international framework. And her personal point, and she herself points this out. So this is not something about which she is unaware. In many ways, in many of her talks, she explains that we also need this broader global context to understand the workings of the apparatus that has produced mass incarceration in the United States. Why do I say that Ferguson reminds us of the importance of a global context? What we saw in the police reaction of the resistance that spontaneously erupted in the aftermath of the killing of Michael Brown was an armed response that revealed the extent to which local police departments have been equipped with military arms, military technology, military training. The militarization of police leads us to think about Israel and the militarization of the police there. If only the images of the police and not the demonstrators had been shown, one might have assumed that Ferguson was Gaza.
Mm.
I think that it is important to recognize the extent to which, in the aftermath of the advent of war on terror, police departments all over the US have been equipped with the means to allegedly fight terror. It's very interesting that during the commentary on Ferguson, someone pointed out that the purpose of the police is supposed to be to protect and serve. At least that's their slogan.
Mm-hmm.
Soldiers are trained to shoot and kill. We saw the way in which that manifested itself in Ferguson. I've lived in London for 10 years, and every time you saw a cop on the street, you got scared. They are technically civil servants, but do not fulfill this function. You talked about the US, the police being militarized. during the demonstration for Gaza in France and Paris, it wasn't civil servants in the streets, it was riot police, RoboCop looking kind of people. This by itself creates and implies violence. Precisely. That was the whole point. And also, it might be important to point out that the Israeli police have been involved in the training of US police. So there is the connection between the US military and the Israeli military. And therefore, it means that when we try to organize campaigns in solidarity with Palestine, when we try to challenge the Israeli state, it's not simply about focusing our struggles elsewhere in another place. It also has to do with what happens in the US communities. We often talk here about the reproduction of the occupation. What's happening in Palestine is reproduced now in Europe, in the US, etc. It is important to make the link for people to understand how global the struggle is, but your opinion is Ferguson an isolated incident? Absolutely not. It is actually fortunate for those of us. Ooh, excuse me, that startled me. I got a notification on the screen. I know she was saying it was fortunate. Absolutely not. It's actually fortunate for those of us who are trying to participate in the building of a mass movement that some recent cases of police killings and vigilante killings have been widely publicized within the country as well as internationally. We had Trayvon Martin, which of course was just the tip of an iceberg. Michael Brown is just the tip of an iceberg. These kinds of confrontations and assaults and killings happen all the time, all over the country, in large as well as small cities. This is why it is a mistake to assume that these issues can be resolved at an individual level. It is a mistake to assume that we all have to do is guarantee the prosecution of the cop who killed Michael Brown. The major challenge of this period is to infuse a consciousness of the structural character of state violence into the movements that spontaneously arise. I don't know whether we can say yet that there is a movement because movements are organized, but these spontaneous responses, which we know happen over and over, will soon lead to organizations and a continual movement. Interesting, right? I wish I could sit down and have coffee with her.
I would definitely sit at her feet.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would not be worthy to sit next
And
to her.
I'd get
of
her the
course.
goddamn coffee too.
Yeah, definitely. What does it say about the Black Civil Rights Movement that 50 years after MLK and Malcolm X, the targeting of Black people, Latinos, Latinas is still happening? Does that mean that the Black Civil Rights Movement has failed in its continuous struggle? The use of state violence against Black people, people of color, has its origins in an era long before the Civil Rights Movement. In colonization and slavery, during the campaign around Trayvon Martin, it was pointed out that George Zimmerman, a would-be police officer, a vigilante, if you want to use that term, replicated the role of slave patrols, also known as Neighborhood Watch, right? Then as now, the use of armed representatives of the state was complemented by the use of civilians to perform the violence of the state. So we don't have to stop at the era of the civil rights movement. We can recognize that practices that originated with slavery were not resolved by the civil rights movement. We may not experience lynchings and Ku Klux Klan violence in the same way we did earlier, but there is still state violence, police violence, military violence, and to a certain extent, the Ku Klux Klan still exists. I don't think that means the civil rights movement was unsuccessful. the civil rights movement was very successful in what it achieved: the legal eradication of racism and the dismantling of the apparatus of segregation. This happened, and we should not underestimate its importance. The problem that is often assumed that the eradication of the legal apparatus is equivalent to the abolition of racism, but racism persists in the framework that is far more expansive, far vaster than the legal framework. Economic racism continues to exist, and we're seeing racism right now in this crazy virus. It's attacking Black and brown folks way faster and more than it's attacking white folks. We're seeing racism in how the vaccine is being distributed, right? So if a group of white folks can go over to a Black neighborhood and take all those vaccines, where are those Black folks supposed to get the vaccine?
Are they doing that really?
According to what I'm seeing on Instagram, people are doing that.
I mean, they go and line up over there?
They go and line up, they go online and make appointments. And so Black and brown folks maybe don't have access to the technology that white folks have access to, and they're able to make the appointments in those neighborhoods that should be for Black and brown folks. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Racism. Okay. Another notification, sorry folks. So economic racism continues to exist. Racism can be discovered at every level in every major institution, including the military, the healthcare system, and the police. It's not easy to eradicate racism that is so deeply entrenched in the structures of our society. And that is why it's important to develop an analysis that goes beyond an understanding of individual acts of racism. That is why we need to demand that go beyond prosecution of the individual perpetrator.
The individual perpetrator.
Yes, beyond the individual perpetrator. I think I'm going to have to stop there because I'm sure you hear their notifications. I do have another meeting to go to, but I did want to make sure I checked in with you guys today on the first Tuesday of the spring semester. Woo! Hope you're safe and well. Thanks for coming to color with me, babe. Appreciate it.
Certainly.
Appreciate the support.
Next week I'll read.
Yeah. You could read with me on Wednesday if you want. Facebook.
You never invited me to do that.
Okay, well, let's do that.
Okay.
It's a date.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Again, my name is Lynn Wood. I'm a student services assistant, East Los Angeles College. I hope you're safe and well wherever you are. And it's Tuesday, the second day of the semester. Take care.
First day of the rest of your life.
Yeah. First day you can take 2 steps in progress towards your goal. Take care.